Welcome to the Self-Performance Strategies Podcast. Unlocking the secrets of self-performance so you can improve mentally, emotionally, and physically. The goal of this podcast is to help you create more freedom of time, money, and purpose. My name is Stephen, and I am your host. I believe there is always an easier way, and I am here to help you find it. Let's jump in to the SPS podcast. Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of the SPS podcast, the Self-Performance Strategies podcast. I am your host, Stephen, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how to close your integrity gap. Now, when I say integrity gap, you might be thinking about your values, about what you normally would think about when it comes to integrity. You know, showing up and actually having decent levels of trust, not being a scammer, not being fraudulent. That is a sort of a typical view of what integrity is. You can trust this person. But being the Self-Performance Strategies podcast, I'm going to look at integrity a slightly different way. We're going to look at integrity with yourself, how to close your integrity gap. Basically, giving you a quick framing before we dive deeper into it. Who you say you want to be versus who you actually are on a daily basis. That is your integrity gap, and I will explain that further. But like I do in all my episodes, let's frame this conversation with a quote. This one coming from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. This idea really solidifies how I think about self-performance and productivity. It's about removing a lot of the dumb shit that you do that actually helps you get forward. So if you think about that quote again quite quickly, perfection is achieved when there is nothing left to take away. That's what he's saying. And this is a great quote to frame this conversation as we dive a bit deeper. As I said, how you show up versus how you want to show up is your integrity gap. You set high expectations for yourself every day. I know I do. I get out of bed and I expect myself to be, the best, and I very rarely am. And when you don't meet those expectations, it hurts. This daily mental, emotional weight you put on yourself just kind of sucks. You have this idea that you should be hitting personal bests, killing it every day, but it just doesn't happen. We know it doesn't happen. We know we probably have 1 or 2 days a month that we really feel like we hit a personal best, and a lot of the rest of the days are a rolling average of good days, good to great days. And then we have the odd day that sucks. I have a question for you here, and you may have heard me discuss this idea before, and it is one of my favorite ideas to discuss, or favorite analogies to discuss around this idea and around self-performance. But the question is, how many personal bests does Usain Bolt have at the 100 meters dash? I'll give you a second. It's a tough one. He has one. That's right. It's not a very tough question. Yes, he has a lot of days that come close to that, but at any point, he only ever had one personal best. You only ever had one world record-breaking personal best when it came to the 100-meter dash. Yes, as I mentioned, lots and lots of other ones that were close, but he only has one personal best. So in essence, expecting yourself to always be breaking your personal best is absurd, because it would take Usain Bolt to circle around 2 or 3 cycles of going through the warm-up and cool down and warm up again to go into the Olympics to get ready to try to break that personal best. So how do top athletes and entrepreneurs succeed then on a regular basis? If they're not always aiming to hit personal bests, how are they exceeding? Well, they focus on removing anything that stops them from succeeding. It's easier to close your integrity gap by removing all the dumb shit, energy vampires, time-wasting activities, and useless stuff from your day. You don't have to show up and break your personal best daily. You just have to stop yourself from not dipping down into the activities that derail your day and your energy. And only you know what those activities are. I know for me, it's TikTok, it's Instagram, it's time wasting, it's worrying, it's overthinking, it's comparing myself to other people, it's getting frustrated at certain results within my business or within my life. It's all dumb shit that I allow to get into my life that derails me from having a good to great day. So I have a dumb shit list that I have written down of all the things that I don't want to do, and all the things that stop me from having good days are on that dumb shit list. How do you close your integrity gap and stop self-sabotaging your results? Well, I want to take you through the biggest blockages you may be having in your life and in your business, and I want to show you a way to get out of your way. Because gurus get it wrong. Yes, I said that. And you might have already picked up on my opinions on this already in this podcast. But over 90% of productivity coaches, a lot of the productivity advice out there, will tell you to raise your bar. They'll tell you to have high expectations for yourself. And you should. But the pressure you put on yourself to always hit those high expectations is almost impossible, especially if you're a super high achiever and you have big dreams for your future and you have big dreams for your future self. If you think about your standard motivational Medium post, BuzzFeed post, Twitter thread, Instagram post, YouTube video, all of it is predicated around telling you to be better, create frameworks, start this habit, do that habit, or optimize your daily schedule, use techniques, the Pomodoro technique, the 80-20 philosophy, use all these techniques and it will help you be more productive. But again, I'm going to say it, the gurus are wrong. They're way off in my opinion. I fell down that trap early on in my productivity career. Early on in my advancement, I was dialed in on that. I was a card-carrying member of the motivational YouTube video club. I was an idiot. I was an idiot. You shouldn't put that kind of pressure on yourself. So the way to close your integrity gap and improve your results, as I've already mentioned, is by doing less dumb shit. So let me walk you through 4 key areas that can help you do less dumb shit and close your integrity gap. The first one is fear of trying. There are areas in your life right now where you fear change. 100%. For me as well. 100% for me as well. You're stuck doing what you used to do and it no longer serves you. Again, I 100% have habits, pathways in my mind, thinking that no longer serves me, and I need to get rid of them. We all do. Anybody listening to this podcast right now that says they don't is a liar. Mentally, emotionally, we get attached to bad habits and routines that slow us down. Now, these bad habits or routines, might have actually been helpful for us at one time. They very well could have been. They could have helped us get out of a worse situation, but now they're the habit or routine that's actually slowing us down from our growth. I have a client that knew they needed to drop or delegate low value work, but each day they didn't because they had this idea that they had to do all the work. They were the number one person. They were the person that had to drive the business forward. Their business, solopreneur. Each day went the same way. Frustration, overwhelm, stress. Been there myself. They expected that if they did it all themselves, it would be done right. And they thought that hiring somebody, getting a VA would be expensive and then have to spend a lot of time training people and it would just be a waste of time. They were wrong. They just were holding back some type of fear. The fear of trying, the fear of actually reaching out and doing the thing they've never done before. And once they actually did it once, they realized, oh shit, this actually helped immensely. And again, I've experienced that in my own life. I've resisted investing in new platforms or technology to help me with my coaching business. I've resisted hiring coaches. I've resisted hiring specialists. I've done all of that because of fear of change, because there's almost this idea in society that, hey, if you can't manage it all yourself, you're a loser. And again, that's complete bullshit. The second area that is holding you back from closing your integrity gap is your hedonistic parts. Oh, this is one I'm pretty good at. We all have them. We all have some type of dumb shit we do each day. From watching too much TV, from social media, to overeating, whatever that is. An example that I'll use for one of my clients is that they used to drink a couple of beers every night to unwind. And they would stay up later than planned because once they had a couple of beers, they get a little bit of a buzz on. They might get sucked into some internet surfing. And then what do you think happened when they kept doing that at nighttime? Yeah, it fucked their sleep up. Excuse my language. I just swore on a podcast, but it's staying in. And what do you think happened when they stopped doing that every night? When they stopped doing that dumb shit? When they stopped having a couple of beers at night time and staying up later and not getting great sleep because of alcohol in their system? What happened? Yeah, their sleep got better. They were fresher the next day. They ended up being more focused. They ended up getting good productivity in the morning. Trust me when I say to you, you are doing something dumb right now in your life that is slowing you down. If you don't know what that is, I would have a good long look in the mirror, because all progress starts with telling the truth. The third reason or third way that you're not closing your integrity gap on a daily basis is you're repeating your actions. You're repeating your actions. Again, we've all done this. I've done this. Repeating the same actions over and over again and hoping this time they will work, but they don't. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I have to say that I've done this, and I know I've worked with a client that's done this as well. Continually overscheduling your days and weeks. I was really bad at this years ago. I used to have a to-do list that was so long. I mean, so long. Constantly beating myself up for not getting the to-do list done. And this is a common thing. I mean, I've worked with so many people that have this. And again, been there, done that. I always thought I needed just more discipline. That's the thing. I kept beating myself up. I just need more discipline. Well, if I was more disciplined, I'd get this to-do list done. No, because the to-do list was just full of bullshit. It was too long. I was overwhelming myself. It wasn't prioritized properly. I expected to do 12 hours of work in a 6-hour day because of my organization skills were off. So when you cut a to-do list down to 2 or 3 key things a day, and you have really defined productivity zones, and you have a really clear goals to where you're going, and you set your weeks up by doing a Sunday journaling system, all of a sudden you start stacking wins and you start moving through your days more quickly. And then all of a sudden your integrity gap closes quite quickly, because you're actually able to show up more as the person you want to be, because you're not putting so much pressure on yourself each day with a massive to-do list. And massive to-do lists are dumb. They're dumb shit. So you don't have that massive to-do list, and you start stacking those wins, you show up more as the future version of yourself, as the person that you think you should be. Easy win, and a great way to close your integrity gap. The next one I want to talk about, the fourth one, the reason why your integrity gap is so big, is you're not going all in on specific targets. Going 100% on one thing is easier than 80% on 3 things, and we all fall into this trap. Oh boy, do we all fall into this trap. We spread ourselves thin, lots of opportunities come up, we're all a little bit successful, we've all got to a certain level of success, so there's people sending us emails, hitting us up in the DMs, throwing these opportunities at us, asking us to do things, and because we've already had success, we kind of forget about that. To get the success, we only really focused on one key thing for a long time to get us to where we were, but once we get success, we throw that out the window. We're just no. I'm successful now. I can do 100 things. You can't. You just can't. So what happens when you've got lots of things on? You know what happens. You start to procrastinate. You're dabbling in a whole bunch of ideas. You get overwhelmed easy. You get frustrated. And you don't know what your next step is, because you're doing all this dumb stuff, all this dumb shit that isn't really aligned with your big goals, your big future. What you need to do with your life, and something that I can talk about in another podcast and get deeper into it, is if you don't have 3 to 5 key pillars in your life that really help you make decisions, and you don't know where you want to go in life, when these opportunities come up, you'll be derailed. You'll start building bridges to different islands that you didn't even want to go to, and eventually you'll island hop to so many different destinations, you'll sit down one day and you'll be like, where am I? Where am I going? Why am I even here? Why am I on this island? And that's what happens when you don't have those 3 to 5 key pillars aligned. And that's what happens when you don't go all in on your big vision in your life and you're dabbling, because dabbling will bring you down. Dabbling will destroy you. It is dumb shit. As we wrap up this 4th episode of the SPS podcast, I am sure you can now see how you're doing several activities daily that are keeping you back. You are stopping you from becoming the person you want to be. And it's not because you haven't raised your bar. No, it's not. It's not because you haven't got high expectations. It's because you're doing dumb shit. It's because you're letting dumb shit lower your floor. You're letting things get in the way that don't need to be in the way. It's harsh to hear sometimes, but it's true. It's so true. But I can tell you, if you can start looking at your personal development journey, at your success journey, within your business, within your life, wherever that is, if you sit down honestly and you create a dumb shit list, if you really write out everything that you think is dumb shit, that is useless in your life, that sucks your energy, that's an open loop you need to drop, anything that you think, from mental noise through TikTok to Instagram to emails, anything that you think is dumb shit, write that out on a list and start avoiding that stuff. And you will start having better days a lot faster than all of the general productivity and performance advice you can ever read that's out there. 5 habits to change your life. No, 1 habit to change your life. Stop doing dumb shit. Thanks very much for joining me on this episode of the SPS podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it. I will be talking about DS, as I call it, dumb shit, a lot more on this podcast, because I really do feel like it is the domino that can really help you leap forward in life. As always, if you want to reach out to me, you can hit me up on my socials at Steve Timoney. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And that's SteveTimoney. And then my website, my main website is Stephen Timoney, but that's Stephen, Stephen, StephenTimoney.com. Hit me up on there. Share the podcast out in your socials. Hit me up in my DMs. Let me know if you're enjoying this podcast. And I will speak to you in the next episode, in the 6th episode of the SPS podcast. Looking forward to sharing that one with you. I've got a couple of really good episodes coming up, so keep it locked in here to the SPS podcast. Make it a good one.